Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lanuzzi, host, your friend, your coach. Today, I have another great guest, my good friend, Michiel from the Netherlands, indigenous Dutch, as he likes to be called.
He knows.
I call him Sunshine. But anyways, he's a good friend of mine. We became good friend of the month. We connected, about a year ago on a private community by this guy, Dan Henry, the Get Client University. And we had a chat, and then he's been helping me with marketing, with copywriting, with creating VSL. Anyway, he's a marketing whiz. Despite the, you know, he's been amazing. He's been good. We laugh like kids, just boys being boys. But anyways, today we're gonna unpack his story, so it's gonna be a good one. So, Michiel, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for getting me on this podcast.
Hey, pleasure of mine. It was about time, eh?
Yeah, it was about time. I was waiting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're gonna talk about your business and all the good stuff later on, but first, I'd like to know, and my audience as well wants to know, who is Michiel, first and foremost, as a man, as a human being?
Well, what do you want to know first about me?
You tell us. You're the guest. I'm the host. You're the star.
I see, I see. Well, my name is Michael. I'm from the Netherlands, and I'm currently doing marketing. Yeah, I'm helping people get flooded with clients by writing magnetic marketing messages and applying scientific marketing principles in their business. So that's what
Beautiful,
I'm doing.
beautiful. Now, to start off, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you. Ready?
Sure.
What makes you smile?
What makes me smile? Well, seeing you, of course, every single day.
Excuse
No,
you.
excuse you. Yeah, those are just jokes, you know?
No,
No.
I know.
Right now, what makes me happy, and this is going to sound so controversial, is work. I really like the work that I'm doing. And just overall, my mission in life with God, the blessings that He has given me every single time when I think about all those amazing blessings and what I can do with it, it just makes me so really happy.
Beautiful. Love that. Love that. Hey, if you're at a place where you absolutely love your work, that's a blessed position to be in, So good for you, brother. Good for you. Now, let's take the happiness factors a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart sing? What sets your soul on fire? In a good way.
What my sets my soul really on fire as of right now is helping businesses get like tons of clients. Like helping people with their marketing. Like they come to me and they say, like, Michael, why is this marketing not working? And then I look at it and I fix it for them. And then within like a few days, all of a sudden they start seeing the results. And they come to me saying things like, wow, how is that possible? Like
Love
it's so
that.
effective. That really
Cool.
sets my soul on fire.
Cool.
Just serving the world, serving people.
Serving the world, serving people. Beautiful. Love that. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
What really makes me sad and angry is when people are more focused on making money than serving other people. Especially of lately. I mean, you're in the business yourself as well. Like the internet nowadays is full with this hustle culture. And I always say hustle bros, like the hustle culture bros
I like that.
are the
Awesome.
parasites of the business world.
I
They
couldn't.
are parasitas. So as they say in Spanish, I believe. I don't know.
Parasitos. Yes. Absolutely.
Parasitos.
I'm completely in agreement with you. Awesome. Now, what scares you?
What scares me? Whew, that's a very good question. I guess what scares me is not being able to fulfill the purpose for which I have been put on this earth for.
And what is that purpose?
Well, right now it is doing business, doing marketing, and helping other businesses succeed with
Let's
their marketing.
bigger picture beyond business. What's your bigger purpose?
My bigger purpose in life is sharing the word of God because I'm a Christian, is saving as many people as possible,
Yeah.
getting them to heaven. So
Mm.
yeah.
That's a beautiful purpose. Now, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My number one personal superpower. Okay, this is going to sound, what I'm going to say now is going to probably sound very controversial, but that is my ADHD. My superpower is my ADHD.
Tell us more. Expand on that. What do you mean?
Okay. Well, many people think that when you have ADD, ADHD, it is some terrible like disease. That's how people usually look at it. And it's because we are being taught that
Mm.
ADHD and ADD are like bad things to have. You get like drugged with medication.
Yeah.
When doctors find out you have ADHD, they give you all sorts of stuff that you shouldn't be putting in your body. And it suppresses the benefits of ADHD. So everything in life has downsides and ups, so ups and downs. And what I've seen is that with my ADHD and ADD, I am very good at focusing. Now, not just focusing on everything. Turns out that when you have ADHD or ADD, you are very good at going deep on doing deep focus, deep work in the things that you're actually interested in. That's why people with ADHD can never focus in school. They can never focus in the classroom because they are forced to do things that they don't care about.
So laser focus on one thing.
Yeah. Yes. Also high sense of creativity
Mm.
and innovation, being able to innovate.
Beautiful. That's a great skill to have, especially the laser focus. Laser focus.
Hmm. Exactly.
Awesome. Now, you love traveling, don't you?
Excuse me.
You love traveling, don't you?
Excuse me.
No worries.
Well, it depends. I do like traveling, but I don't make it my life. I am
Yeah.
very easygoing.
Mm.
With that, I do like exploring other cultures, but I can just sit in my house for like a year straight, doing absolutely nothing but work on my business, and I'm happy. I'm very easygoing with that.
Is this what you're doing now?
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Hey, cheering for you. Listen, we can talk about travel. We can do an entire episode on that, but I'd like to take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. So go back to when you were growing up as a kid. You know, when we're kids, people around us, family, parents, teachers, neighbors, they ask us, "Hey, Michiel, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was the answer to that question as a young boy?
Ooh. Well, everybody wanted to become an astronaut. I remember I wanted to become an astronaut. Then I wanted to become you as well.
Astronaut pilot was my nickname growing up, and then astronaut, yeah.
And then I wanted to become a police officer. And when I became like 13 years old, I wanted to become a software developer because that's when I got introduced to web development and software development in general. And then as I kept going, I discovered marketing. And then I was like, you know what? I really want to become a business owner. I started to develop my personality more. And it turned out I have like a very entrepreneurial personality type. And then I was like, okay, I want to do business and marketing.
Beautiful. Awesome. Now, let's stay when you were growing up. So, as a kid, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I was terrible at school. I was so bad at school that they sent me to like a special school for children with learning disabilities.
Really?
Yeah. So I grew up in a very small village with like only 1,000 people living in it.
Mm,
It's tiny, very tiny. It's very, very, very tiny.
mm,
And there was a school in that village, luckily. And but there
Really?
was a big problem. Sometimes there were like 60 people in one classroom, and now I already was diagnosed with ADHD.
Wow.
And one problem that you get when you do have ADHD is that you usually are very bad at learning during your early stages in life,
Mm-hmm.
and you need extra help. You need private help from teachers.
Mm.
And we only had one teacher, like teaching 50 to 60 people in one classroom. And I couldn't just get
Wow.
the attention that I needed. So I was like, my grades were terrible, like horrible. So then they were like, yeah, Michael has to be sent to a different school. And of course, I
Wow.
mean, I was like, how old was I? Maybe I was like 10 years old. So, I mean, I didn't really care. Okay.
Did you have any topic that you really enjoyed more than others?
Back then, I really liked history. I still do to this day. But I didn't really have any hobbies back then. I was basically just only playing video games because that was my way to escape from reality.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was very social awkward. I got bullied like through my entire childhood for like 12 years
Wow.
straight, every single day. And playing video games became basically my way to escape reality. And it is what it is. And that's ultimately how I grew out
Yeah.
from school.
So you mentioned you get bullied. What
Yeah.
age did the bullying start?
Ooh, probably that's a very difficult question. Probably at the age of 5, as soon as I went to school for the first time.
What were they bullying you about initially?
Oh, everything. Just the. Hmm. That's a good
Were you
question.
small? Were you? I think you're pretty tall as a guy. I mean, most Dutchies are pretty tall. You're not. You don't have any deformities. So what were they bullying you about?
Mm, as far as I remember from all the way, but that's like flashbacks, you know, like it's years ago. Ancient times,
Yeah,
as
once
I
upon a
always say.
time.
Once upon a time, during the early life. No, it was usually because I was not that social, so they would always bully me with not being able to talk. And I was small. Yeah, yeah, small was being one because the medication I got due to my ADHD, it suppressed my growth. So
Oh.
I was way smaller than most people of my age. So I got bullied with that. I got just what's it called? Out of friends group, they usually would just put me outside the friends group, and yeah, like I don't really remember anymore the things that they said to me. Luckily, I don't really care anymore that I got bullied though. I'm actually quite glad that it happened because it allowed me to become very social and read people.
Mhm. So when you were
So yeah.
bullied, did you stand up for yourself? Did you fight back, or you were just passive?
In the beginning, I used to be passive. Unless they would get physical, then I would fight back. But yeah, 50-50. It really depended.
Okay. And this bullying, it went throughout your schooling?
Yeah, from like the age of 5 all the way till I was like 16, 17 years old.
And what made it disappear?
Okay, well, what made it disappear is that I started to become very confident and I learned to not only physically defend myself, but also verbally. What I have noticed is that because I got bullied a lot, I started to understand the deep human understanding and the psychological behavior of those
Mm.
bullies and why they would bully me and also other people. And what I basically did is then I started to, and this is gonna sound so terrible. I'm gonna get canceled for this so hard.
Okay, say it.
And then I started to psychologically manipulate them. Yeah. Yeah, I told you I'm gonna get canceled for this one.
I
So
like
I had
that.
a
Come on,
bully
I
that was
like
always
that.
bullying me. And for whatever reason, my mind told me that guy is getting like hit, physically hit by his father at home. And I didn't know that's what mine told me. So one time he started bullying me, and then I told him in the middle of the classroom, like, "Hey, why do you always behave like your father hits you?" Yeah. And then he immediately stopped bullying me, and later actually told me that that was actually true. So then, no, when he told me that,
Wow,
I was like, "Oh, that's kind of scary that I knew
that's
that just
wild.
by reading him." But yeah, don't worry,
Damn.
people. I no longer psychologically manipulate anyone.
Okay,
Don't
okay.
worry.
Imagine that we were in the same class in grade 10, 11. What kind of student and kid were you back then? Were you the shy one, the quiet one, the nerd one, the chatterbox, a superstar? What were you?
At the age
Say
of
grade 10, 11. I don't know what age that maybe you get
grade,
age 14,
yeah, our grade
15.
system is very different.
Yeah.
We don't have grade 10 here. We have grade 8 is like the maximum of elementary school.
So say that's in high
So
school, say, I don't know, 14, 15, 16.
quiet,
Mm-hmm.
but very alert.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's called the tortoise effect. Then you're very quiet and you start slow, but you end up basically surpassing everyone and being one of the few people who actually succeeds in what they're doing.
You know what you describe is the all the characteristic of a perfect sniper. Did you ever consider going to the military?
I don't have the patience to lay in the mud for a week.
HED plus quiet plus laser focus. These are all the ingredients of a perfect sniper, elite sniper.
Elite sniper, minus the patience.
Shut put it up. So when you were in school, whether it's primary school, secondary school, or even high school and university, were you popular with the ladies?
No, I was socially awkward, brother. I was afraid to speak to anybody. I was even afraid to get in my own garden because I
Right.
was afraid that people would see me. Yeah. Like my social abilities were minus 10 billion.
So how do you overcome this social inability of minus 10 billion?
Okay, well, it is actually very easy. Well, easy, I mean. What I did, I just went on the internet and I first started off just chatting with people on Discord. And back in the day, it was like Omegle before Discord was a thing. And slowly, then I started to turn my camera on and just chatting with people. Like, beginning was terrible. Like, I was just staring at the screen like this, and they would talk to me, and I was like, "Yeah, do I have to say anything back right now?" Like. But like after a few weeks, after a few months, like I started to become very social. And as I was capable, and as I gained the ability to just speak with people online, I started to have just random conversations with people on the streets, people that I've never seen before, like waiting for the bus. And then the person that was waiting next to me, I would just spark a conversation with him. Also in the bus, just talk with people. And that's how I got out of it to the point where I'm very like social. I can just walk straight to someone, spark a conversation.
Okay.
And the principle that I've learned, the lesson, the big lesson that I've learned from that experience is that every single problem, at least most problems that you have in your life, you have them due to the lack of wisdom in that area.
Hmm.
And if you just get the wisdom, you read some books on it, you, I don't know, watch some YouTube videos, you just do something, 99% of the time the problem goes away, like with oftentimes within a few weeks, days, or months.
Beautiful. Love that. Beautiful. Do you remember what was your very first job? And do you remember how much you got paid the first time you worked?
Ooh. I don't remember anymore. No,
Not like you're talking about,
no,
well,
my
one
first
time,
job was as a web developer, but I no longer know how much I got paid.
Okay. You didn't do any like jobs like distributing flyers, selling door to the chocolates. You guys don't have that in Holland? those kind of jobs, like distributing
Yeah, they do
newspapers?
have flyers,
Yeah.
but I was too socially awkward to even wanted to work. Like it was terrible.
Wow.
I was just sitting on my room all day playing video games, basically.
How many siblings do you have?
I have one little brother.
Okay.
Well, little, he's taller than me.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, so
Cool.
little
Now,
brother would be a mistake.
okay, let's move forward. How would you describe your path from the moment you left school to now? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward? Once you get into one lane, you were set for life? It was smooth sailing, or was it more like a turns and twists, like a roller coaster? Mind you're still pretty young,
Uh,
but for what you've done so far.
I never really had trouble with identifying what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
From an early age, I used to want to become a web developer, and I discovered programming, software development at the age of 13 slash
Okay.
14 years old. And then back then I was like, okay, I want to have a career as a software developer.
Mm.
So when I was around the age of 16, 17, I went to college.
Mhm.
I studied software development, got my diploma. I got a job as a software developer. And then I was like, hmm, I hate working for someone.
Oops. Okay.
Oops. And well, the first time I noticed that was doing my internships because we always have internships here with college. You always need to have internships. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I I cannot imagine having a life where someone else decides how much I get paid and when I can go on a holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you major in school and what was your internship about?
Software development. I majored
Okay.
in software development, and my internships were about software development.
Okay. Okay.
Luckily,
Yeah. And when you went into your internship, what were you actually doing that, or your job was mostly just making photocopies and bringing coffee to your boss and stuff like that? Completely
no, no, no. I would actually work in a team of developers and write software that the police would use. I was had an internship at a government facility.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so no, the internships here usually are pretty valuable.
Hmm.
Of course, you have some companies here that absolutely manipulate you and they basically abuse you here in terms of, yeah, we're going to give you real world tasks, but you don't get paid. Well, you just do the same stuff as the workers here.
And real world task meaning doing photocopies, bringing coffee, cleaning.
No, 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 no. No, that's not the case. This is not the United States. No, that doesn't happen here. I believe that's not even allowed. That's forbidden. When you do that to your interns,
Mm.
you get, and the government finds out because they get checked upon. Because in order for you to, as a company in the Netherlands here, if you want to get interns, you have to register yourself
Hmm.
as like a learning company.
Okay.
And then schools can send you interns, but you also get checked upon. And if you would do those things, so basically, oh, have your intern do things that are not a part of the internship, you
Hmm.
actually get a punishment. You get actually revoked that permission to get interns.
I see.
So there is a that's a good thing though. I really like that.
I
But people
agree.
still here get
Yeah.
it
So
doesn't prevent everything.
So since you realized pretty early on that you don't like, you're not a good employee, you don't like taking orders, when did you transition into starting your first business? When did you get into entrepreneurship?
Well, the first time I discovered entrepreneurship was when I entered more of the manosphere, the
Mhm.
red pill space on YouTube, you know, that whole toxic area.
Why do you say it's
Because
toxic?
of, excuse me?
Why do you say it's toxic?
Well, depends which area. The red pill
Hmm.
with, yeah, women are nothing. And basically, the only thing that women good for are sleeping with them. That kind of mindset
That
those
I
people
agree.
have.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I started to get into that area because, you know, social awkward still back then. And
Hmm.
then people who are very confident, you're automatically attracted to them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very dangerous and they manipulate you.
Yes.
And I saw a video once, I don't know the guy anymore, about books that you should read. And one of those books was The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco.
Great book, by the way.
Great book. Yeah, 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 yeah. And when I read that book, that one screwed my mind so bad. Like that is a book that contains so much deprogramming
Mm-hmm.
that it just left me in shock. I was like, whoa, I have been lied to by basically everyone. I've been lied to by teachers, co-workers, and even some parts by my own family members.
The world.
Not
Yeah.
that they did, not that they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't believe they did it on purpose, but that they are wrong. That the common advice that we as children are being given about success is totally not true.
Yeah.
And that's when I really started to get a different mindset. I really started to get
Yeah.
into entrepreneurship. I didn't start a business yet, but I started to read books on it. First, I wanted to get my mind straight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got into it. That
I
was the baby steps.
I can totally relate with that. For me too, a book changed my life, the tradition of my life. Back in 2008, I was supposed to go to law school, and my parents were really happy. They were expecting me to become a very prestigious lawyer and all that. And then one day, I stumbled upon The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. I'm sure you've heard of
Mm.
that book. And long story short, I ended up not sending my application to law school and so started my first business. To the complete horror of my parents, thought I had gone crazy and lost my marbles for throwing away a prestigious and very lucrative career. And yeah, the rest is history. So I can relate to that.
Yeah. When you go against the advice that your
Oh
family
yeah,
has given you, they're gonna call you crazy. Same happened to me.
absolutely.
They will say things to you like, you need to get your common sense back. You are becoming a person we don't like. And one of the lessons that I've learned from that is that when you're changing and you personally honestly believe you're changing for the better,
Mhm.
and people that have known you for basically your entire lives are going to say to you that you're changing and that they don't like you anymore. That's usually a sign that that's actually that you should continue going forward
Yeah.
because they're trying to hold you back. Not on purpose, usually. That depends. I don't believe family members want to hold you back on purpose, but humans, it's like tribal mindset,
Yeah.
basically, that when you go against
The
the
crab
tribe,
mentality. The crab mentality.
yeah, then you become an outcast and people are gonna start to find you weird until you find a new tribe, basically, with people that have the same mindset and beliefs and principles that you have. And then it's normal again.
So when you were going through that, say family, your close friends questioning you, what kept you going? How did you overcome that and kept going on your path?
Well, what kept me going is I started to build a very massive ego. And by the way, this is like 4 or 5 years ago. And that both almost ruined my life, but it also saved my life. Because I used to be very social awkward. My confidence
Mhm,
was minus billion. And what helped me basically save my life was building a massive ego. And and because it's also confidence, but that's you have confidence and overconfidence.
yeah.
Yeah, and when you get overconfident, you get that ego. However,
Mhm,
it did save my life. So decided to build a massive ego to get out of all those social problems that I had.
mhm,
And then when I started to notice that it was going against me,
mhm,
I started to remove all I started to put down my ego, open my mind, but I still remained very confident.
mhm. Beautiful. Love that.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about your business.
What do you want to know about my business?
Tell us what's your business. What are you helping with and doing what? Tell us all the good, juicy stuff about your business.
the good juicy stuff. Do you want to know my previous business as well that I failed?
Yes, please tell us. Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Okay, so during those times that I had a massive ego, so this is before it started to go against me,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to teach people how to become software developers themselves. So teaching people how to code.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I've read some marketing books, and Dunning-Kruger effect hits hard,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have a massive ego. So I thought I
Ah,
was the best in the world. Well, I wasn't. I was absolutely terrible, but a bigot. And that led to that original business failing short story format of it.
beautiful. Beautiful. And so you mentioned that you had a massive ego. What was your ego? Because usually when someone builds the ego is based on results. What did you achieve to build and to warrant to justify that ego? I'm not judging.
Well,
I'm
it
just
was
trying to
usually
understand, you know?
no, 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 no. Well, that is the problem because when you develop such an ego, it is usually based not on results, but on self-manipulation.
Mm,
Because remember that when you have been social awkward and afraid of other people your entire life and
mm,
always like very insecure, you basic to in order to get out of it, you have to manipulate yourself. At least
mm.
that's my experience. I'm probably wrong on the topic, but that's what I did, and that's what
Okay.
initially worked for me. I just started to manipulate myself and just stopped. I stopped caring about everything.
Mm,
Like, oh, you disagree with me? Okay, I don't care. Not my problem. And oh, you think that I'm wrong? Okay, I don't care. Like everything, I started just okay, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I can do it. I'm the best.
mm.
And that's how it started. And it worked in the beginning. It saved me becoming from basically almost suicide. But I
Really?
do believe that I've never been suicidal, but I do honestly believe that if I hadn't done it, I don't know if I would still be alive. I would probably have become very depressed.
Okay.
So it did save my life until it started to go against me, and then I was like, okay, this is not good. People actually hate me now. So this ain't good. Now I have to change myself.
And how did you change that?
Ooh, it by every single time when I because you work in patterns, right? So something happens, and you can, and if you are very, if you, how can I, how to explain? Let me. You live in patterns, and if you do it right, you can start to detect the patterns
Mhm.
that you follow.
Mhm.
And also, when you build a massive ego with the mindset you have, you start to detect patterns. And I started to detect those patterns that were make me very negative
Mhm.
because at the end I would become very negative about basically everything in the world.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you build a massive ego. You become totally negative. And I started to detect those patterns and I start to reverse them. Like, okay, this is what I would usually do, and that would lead to this result. So now I'm going to do the exact opposite. And then it would lead me to the exact opposite result. Oh, that makes sense.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
Thank you.
that's how I started to deconstruct myself.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. Now, getting back to your business. So you're good with words, copywriter, also with web designing because you have a background in computer sciences and software engineering and all that. So I know you can whip out a mean landing page and website because you've done one or two for me, which are absolutely amazing. So which one would you say that not just you're the best, but really that brings the best out of you? The copywriting part of the creating, building websites.
Yeah, so copywriting and marketing.
Okay.
Yeah, I've discovered that I'm a more creative person than
Mhm.
analytical.
Okay.
Programming became more of a way I could express myself other than playing video games.
Yeah.
And through true excuse me programming, I discovered marketing because that business that I wanted to start many years ago.
Mm,
That's how I fell in love with my true passion. That's how I discovered it.
mm. Beautiful. Who's your ideal client other than me?
Well, my well, my ideal client is a business owner who truly cares about serving other people and not just making money, but actually delivering a value,
Mhm.
and who also has the ability to acknowledge that they're not good at everything and that they need to be coachable.
Oh, yes, that's
And
huge.
that's the yeah, and that there are people that can help you. A
Yeah.
big problem nowadays is that many business owners, they think that they need to learn everything. They believe that they are the only person in their business that should be doing everything. They like control freaks, and
Mm,
I'm still a control freak as well with many things in my life. And in some way, and somehow, being a control freak is good, but in other ways, it's also terrible because there are moments you're just going to admit, okay, this is just I I'm terrible at this thing, so let me just get someone who does know how to do that thing over here. So so
you're
my
gonna end up
problems get solved.
driving yourself crazy if you're too much of a control
Yeah,
freak. Yeah, wow.
yeah.
So, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Well, right now I'm focusing on building my marketing agency,
Mhm.
and I'm probably going to build it. I'm not sure yet. I am still in the decision whether I'm going to make it a lifestyle business or a performance-based business. And a lifestyle business is basically you earn so much money, but you have like a small team, like maximum 3 people that work for you. So you get like 80% of the profit that you make,
Mhm.
and only like 20% goes back to your business. And a performance-based business is like, let's say, Coca-Cola or
No,
those big companies you see in the
enterprise.
cities
Mhm.
that are like have hundreds of people working for them. So I'm currently making the mental decision, the choices, which way I want to go to.
Where is your heart taking you?
Lifestyle.
Yes, I agree because you mentioned you're a control freak. If you have a massive team, clashes galore.
Yeah, and I hate managing people.
Oh yeah,
Heck
uh,
no, I want to be responsible for hundreds of people doing their job. No, no,
forget
no, no,
about
no.
it. No, no.
Yeah. I am terrible at managing people, and to be honest, way too lazy as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm way too lazy.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing that's really knowing you and talking to you, especially lately, that is becoming a very important part of your life, is that you're a man of faith. So tell us
Hmm.
about that. Is that did you grow up in an environment where religion was a big part of your family? Is it something that you just reconnected with recently?
No, my entire family is basically either agnostic or atheists.
Mm-hmm.
I never grew up with any religion.
Mm-hmm.
I found God through a one-on-one experience where he basically almost showed himself to me. I had a very one-on-one experience with him during the when I was like bottom barrel. Like how do you call it again?
At the bottom.
Like the
Yeah.
yeah, at the bottom.
Tell us that shares that experience if you can.
Well, just of life, like with the ego part and my previous business, I I was completely lost. I had built such a massive ego.
Mhm.
I was basically living for nothing. I had no purpose anymore. I was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, life is basically worthless. Because that's gonna sound weird, but when you're an atheist, clump of cells, like just a
Yeah.
chemical reaction. So then life is about nothing. And during that moment, I remember laying in my bed and I just opened myself up. I said, Lord Jesus, God, I don't know if you're real or not, but I can no longer do all of this on my own. I'm submitting myself to you. I'm done because if I continue this way, I'm dying. I'm going to die 100%. Like, I ain't going to survive this.
Yeah.
And then I felt the Holy Spirit come upon me.
Wow.
Like music came out of my room, like
Really?
heavenly music from all around me.
Wow.
And I remember thinking back then, because we humans tend to be very skeptical, which is good, by the way. So when I heard the heavenly music coming from around me, I was like, oh, that's just tinnitus, bro. My brain is just messed up. So I closed my ears. I couldn't hear it. And then I opened my ears again, and it came from all around me, and I felt it. Like, and then I was like, okay, yeah, well, my life is now going upside down. God is real.
Amazing. So, how is that completely, I mean, how has that affected your life?
Oh, it has put my life like upside down in a good way. It has saved me.
Okay.
I have purpose again. I am more in touch with my blessings, with my gifts that I've ever been in my life. That's also how I discovered that marketing is a part of my purpose on earth here. And yeah, all the problems that I used to have, they're all gone.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And the fact that for you, that's something that you mentioned a few times already in this call, is that for you, it's not just about the money, but it's about the impact serving. Sure, we all need to make money, but let's do so in a way that's meaningful, impactful, and purposeful. That's something that I love. Is that something also came as a result of you reconnecting with your faith, or is that something that you were also like that before that, or before you're all about money, money, money?
No, because of faith.
Mm.
Because okay, so in the Bible it says that when you are born again, the Holy Spirit comes into your heart, and God starts to change your heart.
Yeah.
And a part of being, as called, I don't call, I'm a born again Christian,
Mhm.
as they say it, born again Christian, and one of the things that you get is that you really start to care about other people, and you really want to serve them. Yeah, money is nice, and of course I still want to make a lot of money, which is a normal desire to have, but not at the cost of other people.
Yes.
That's why in my business I have a
Mhm.
motto, and that is I serve first and then I sell second. So I
Yes,
first serve you to the best of my ability, and then I sell you something.
absolutely. I've seen that. I've seen that. They're doing really good. So when you had that awakening and you reconnected with, yeah, I mean, connected with the with faith, becoming a born again Christian, how was your family reacting to that?
Well, pretty good actually.
Really?
I was growing up in a family where religion wasn't despised.
Hmm.
So they did find it a little bit weird at the beginning, but then I just started to explain what happened. And then they were like, okay, cool. And I'm saving them, by the way. So I'm sharing the gospel with them, and they are becoming interested. So that's good, because that is so weird. Like before, you never really care about God, and then when you're born again,
Hmm.
all of a sudden you get this inner desire to share it with people, to
Yes.
share the words, to share the gospel, as it's called, the good news of Jesus Christ, with as many people as possible.
Yeah, I've
You
seen
you
that.
really change from the heart.
Yes. I've seen the passion that you have in that. We had a couple of weeks ago. You were very passionate. I couldn't even get you off the call, but in a good way. In a good way. In a good way. Yeah, that was good. That was good. So listen, Michael or Michiel, beautiful conversation. Let's wrap things up. To finish, I'd like to ask you another series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Advices.
Yeah, advices, not vices. Advices.
Okay, I was like, am I hearing that correctly?
No. What's the best piece of advice you've received so far in your life?
The ooh, ooh, that is a very good question.
Thank you.
Well, the best piece of advice is from God, that He is
Mm,
indeed real. That is the best piece of advice. And that if you follow Jesus,
mm.
that even if life is some things are terrible, that you're going to be fine at the end of the day.
Beautiful. Love
Yeah,
that.
that is more important than business. That is more
Oh yeah.
important than starting a family.
Hmm.
And that is to follow the one that created you.
Yes, that's a foundation. I agree.
Yeah. And now, in terms of business, the best advice that I have ever received is that when you create marketing materials,
Hmm.
do not teach anything, just simplify it.
I love that. That is actually quote worthy. Let me write this down. When you create content, don't teach, instead simplify.
Yeah.
Where did you get that? Was it something in the site that you had on your own, or you read it somewhere, or somewhere that
No, I learned that one from Dan Henry.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
he's good.
That advice changed my life. And that also changes the way you see things. Because when, especially us as business owners, you are very good at what you do. You're
Yeah.
very good.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what you do. Maybe you're a doctor. Maybe you're an engineer. Maybe you're like you help people build a podcast. You know everything about podcasting.
Yeah.
And when we try to teach that to other people, it is like I always come from perspective of a ladder. We're up here, but the people that we're talking to are all the way here. And when
Exactly.
we try to teach something to someone, we are talking down upon them.
Yeah.
However, when you simplify something using a story or an analogy, you go back to their level
Mm.
and you speak in a way, you use a concept that they already understand. So, a very great analogy, for example, is imagine you're driving through the street, and on the right, you have a lemonade stand that has a sign that says yellow water with sugar. And on the left, you have a lemonade stand that says freshly squeezed lemonade. Which one would you buy from?
The freshly squeezed
Yes, exactly. But why?
because it's fresh, because it's exactly what I want.
Yeah, and it sounds better, right? Because they're both the same.
It's very
They're
clear.
both lemonade.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And the principle of that analogy is that people do not buy products that are good. They buy products that sound good and that look good.
Yeah. And
And
that,
that is an example. And what I just did is an example of simplifying.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes so much sense. Love that. Now, what's the worst piece of advice that you received so far in your life?
The worst piece of advice that I've ever received
Yeah.
is that that when you're a loser when you quit. What I've discovered is that good winners are very good at quitting.
They know when to stop. They're not
Yeah,
stubborn.
exactly. And with my years ago, with my previous business, I kept going on it for many years. I tried and I did it and I went again and I tried again and I tried again and I tried again and it just didn't work. And then I was like, okay, I'm done. This has
Yeah.
to stop. Like I'm basically working myself to death. This just isn't going to work. And then I decided, okay, I'm just going to stop. And when I stopped, like all other possibilities in all different areas returned to me.
You have to
Finally, freedom.
clear the space for new things to come.
Yeah,
So, just like in life and business, important to know what to do, but what's 10 times more important is to know what not to do.
exactly. And at the end of the day, it is not like you lose
No, you.
because everything that you do works.
Mhm.
There are two different types of ways something works. It either works on you or it works for you.
I love that. That's also
So,
worthy. Yes.
exactly. So, just because that my previous business failed, it worked on me. It didn't work for me, but it worked on me. And it allowed me to gain massive experience in not only marketing, but also the mistakes that I did and in terms of the mindset that I need to have. So it worked on me, but it did work.
Yeah.
So just because something doesn't end up going the way you want it to, doesn't mean it's not working. It's just working
Yeah.
on you instead of working for you. But you're still winning.
So in other words, you either learn or you earn.
Exactly. That's another very good way to describe it. You
So,
either learn or you earn.
yeah, exactly. Love that, love that, love that. Beautiful. And as the saying says, what's an expert? An expert is someone that mastered all the ways to fail, not to do something. That's an expert because he or she knows exactly what not to do. So you can actually do what actually does work.
Exactly. That is, but most people don't say that. Most
Yeah.
people don't tell you that. They simply tell you, "Oh, if you decide to stop, you're a failure and a loser." And you probably heard the quote before
Yeah.
that you can spot the pioneers by the
Mhm.
arrows in their back.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but Michiel Arkema says you should have just worn a shield. Where was your shield? You would have blocked the arrows from killing you.
Yeah.
So just bring a shield.
And know when to cut your losses. Don't be
Yeah,
stubborn and destroy your head against the wall. That's unbeatable. You have to be smart.
exactly.
If there's a
Exactly.
rock you can go to, just go around it
Exactly.
or above it or under, but find another way.
Yeah. And if there is no way to get behind the rock, then just I don't know, try a different path, do something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Awesome. Imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time and and you can sit face to face with an 18-year-old Michael. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to him knowing all that you know now?
well, what I perhaps would do is say to him, stop playing video games and go read books. However, I'm not sure because I don't regret anything that happened to me and all those things because it turned me into the person I am today. Most likely, if one of those things would change, then I wouldn't be sitting here. Then I don't know where I would be.
I will add something to this. Sometimes I also find myself guilty of playing video games on my phone instead of working. But,
Hmm.
but while I'm playing, I'm either listening to some video on my other phone or even and I get ideas while I'm playing video games. Did that also happen to you while playing video games? Ideas about business, about life, about things. When you disconnect, that's when you get ideas.
Yeah, I don't play video games anymore, but I do
Yeah.
have that thing when I'm laying in bed and I'm slowly falling
Yes.
asleep,
Mhm.
or I am cooking, or I'm taking a walk outside.
Mhm.
That is has to do with your brain waves.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have your own podcast?
Not yet. I am currently going to restart my YouTube channel, and
Mm,
you could say that is a podcast
yes.
as well.
Yes.
But I was currently focused on different things in my business. I prefer focusing one thing at a
Okay.
time
Makes sense.
instead of dividing my focus.
Yeah.
But a podcast, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the podcast expert here, not me, is that I could simply record a YouTube video, extract the audio, and
Yeah,
upload it as a podcast.
that's right. That's one of the very simplified way of looking at things. Yes. But
Hmm.
imagine that you have your podcast that is very successful. And today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, and that is yourself. What's the first question you want to ask yourself?
The first question on the podcast that I would ask myself is what are the biggest mistakes most businesses make in their marketing that is preventing them
Mhm.
from working out? Because most businesses fail. I believe it's like over 90%.
And what's the answer?
What's the answer? Is that know the problem that you
Mhm.
solve.
Clarity.
Yes. Most businesses think they know they solve a problem, but when you ask it to the business owner, what problem do you solve? Instead, they answer with the outcome that they deliver.
Mhm.
So, for example, when you would ask someone, a fitness coach who helps people, I don't know, lose weight, for example, when you ask a lot of them, okay, what problem do you solve for your business? They would say to you, I help people lose weight. But that is not a problem. That's the outcome that your ideal client has received
Mhm.
after you have solved the problem for them.
Yeah,
And that is one of the biggest reasons that most businesses fail. They simply do not know the problem that they solve.
I agree. They want to help everyone with all the issues. Completely agree with that.
Yes. Yes. And they
Um,
focus on outcome instead of the pain points.
yes. Well, the name of the game is to focus to solve one specific person problem for one very specific person and know exactly what is the problem, not just the outcome, but the problem.
Exactly. And there's a very easy analogy to prove this point. And that is,
Mm,
imagine you come home one day from work.
mm.
It is in the middle of the winter. And you come home, you open the door, you walk your house, and it turns out your heating system broke. And it is -10 Celsius in your house. It's freezing in your house.
Well, in
What is the
Canada,
first
-10 is
thing?
pretty warm. You would rather say -30. Now you get
Okay,
yeah.
-30. Okay, let's make it even worse. Okay, what would you do? What would you do? What's the first thing that you would do?
Freak out, call an expert or whatever.
Yeah, you call the repairman, right?
Yeah,
To
exactly.
check on your heating system.
Yeah,
Exactly. You would do that without waiting for 5 minutes.
no,
Why? Because the problem that you're current struggle with at that specific moment is very painful.
yes, yes.
And but however, if your heating system is just working great and someone comes and says, "Hey, I can give you another heating system that saves you money," or that is I don't know, works longer, whatever.
Saves you more
You're
money.
more
Yeah,
Yeah, you're going to ignore it. You're going to be like, yeah, okay, I'm fine with my current one. However, when it's broken and you have a very big problem going on, you wouldn't even think twice about finding a way to fix it. Because we as humans, fundamentally, we tend to move away more from pain than towards an achievement.
yes. They need to have a pressing, urgent need, burning need. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Love that. Listen, if someone wants, oh, the last question I ask, and that's my favorite question to ask, and that is, what is the smallest thing you've done that has had the biggest, most profound positive impact on both your life and business? For me, for example, it's been starting my podcast. What about you, Michiel?
The biggest thing that has changed my life is two things. One, finding God,
Mm,
and two is reading books.
mm. What book are you reading now?
Right now, I am reading a book called Never Split the Difference. It's
Oh yeah.
about negotiation. I want to get better and deeper into communication skills and how to
Mhm.
communicate properly
Yeah.
through words and marketing in general. And of course, don't forget the Bible. The Bible is the best business book out
Yes,
there.
yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
You can just search me on Google, michaelarkema.com. I believe there's a link in the description of this video.
Yes, I'll put it.
You know, pitching.
Don't worry,
And
I'm not gonna put your address and
yeah, okay,
what
yeah,
your
yeah. Put my
docs.
address in any event. He lives here,
Uh,
by the way, in case you want to stalk him. Yeah.
don't worry.
And you can also just find me on Instagram, Facebook.
LinkedIn, all the good usual places. Yeah, cool, awesome. Listen, Michael, Michiel, absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm delighted I get to know you a bit better. Thank you for sharing that. I salute you, a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world, your presence, your impact, your wisdom, the word, the word of God, and do good around you. And I salute you. Stay safe, stay awesome, stay warm. Might still be a little bit chilly in the Netherlands, but I'll salute you. God bless, and talk to you very soon. Take care, my friend.
Mhm.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Pleasure on mine, brother. Take care. Bye.